For the Mets last night to rally back as they did against the Arizona Diamondbacks after winning the opener 8-3, and to roll back being down 4-0. Martinez with the double gets them into it 4-1. The Alvarez single makes it 4-2. Then you get the Bader home run in the fifth that ties things up at 4. Alonso with the sac fly that gives them a 5-4 lead against an Arizona team that is sitting there, 19, 20 games over the 500 mark. You have a 5-4 lead. Yes, Luis Severino did not have an extended start, had to leave the game early, but thank God X-rays negative for Sevy. Struggled early, but still, had 9 strikeouts over the course of the game. X-rays negative on Severino. You don't have Nunez. You don't have your setup man. You ask Edwin Diaz to bounce back after he gave up the walk-off home run to the San Diego Padres on Sunday to get you 4 outs last night in Arizona, walks the first 2 batters, and then gives up the grand slam to Corbin Carroll as the Arizona Diamondbacks win it 8-5. I mean, there are losses, and then there are losses. And I've said it time and time again when looking at this Met team, and I've had fans call me when I do my usual show on Sunday mornings and stuff. Should I believe? Should I, buy wholeheartedly in? The Mets have given me a summer. The Mets have made this exciting. They've been fun, whether it be Grimace, whether it be, OMG. I mean, Lopez throwing his glove into the stands, the players-only meeting, the home run by J.D. Martinez against the Marlins. I mean, it's been a whirlwind kind of a season. All kinds of different emotions have kind of reared their head when talking about the Mets this year, and some of them obviously being positive. And if I told you in mid-May, late May, when this team was sitting there 11 games under the 500 mark, that we're here late August, Labor Day weekend right around the corner, that they would be 5 games over within 4 games of the Atlanta Braves of being the third and final wild card team in the National League, you said, you know what, Moose, I'd sign up for that. Given the fact of where this team is right now, I'd sign up for that. But that's not exactly the way that this script is played out, because this team, unfortunately, when you look at the bullpen, has been a massive issue. You get to Edwin Diaz. I mean, you're going to have questions about what exactly is Edwin Diaz here moving forward. Coming off the major knee injury that he suffered in the WBC a couple of off seasons ago, missed the entirety of last year, has come back this year. I think he's got 6 blown saves, and he's accounted for 3 losses so far on the season. His ERA is north of 4. I mean, that's where Edwin Diaz is right now as a closer. And he can talk about the mechanics all he wants. There are games, because your offense led the way, because you had momentum in the game, that you have to find a way to win it. And they leaned on not one of the relievers that was bringing the guy that you counted on, your most trusted reliever. Even though he has not been dominant this season, you handed off to Edwin Diaz to get you a 4-out save, and you know what? Edwin Diaz spit the bit. And the most frustrating thing, if you're a Met fan, listen to the sound of my voice on this Thursday morning, is this. The most frustrating thing, the Braves are dying. I mean, I understand they've won 6 of 7, but based on the injuries, look at it. I mean, just think about the injuries the Braves have had this year. Strider, Acuna, Minter, Albies, Austin Riley. You look at Olsen. He's not having your prototypical year offensively at first base. The Atlanta Braves, a team that the Mets base, the Met fan, fears. The Atlanta Braves treat the Mets like the Astros treat the Yankees. They are dying to be beat. But you know why they continue to win, as they just swept the Minnesota Twins, as they've won the last 6 of their last 7 games? It's all about culture. Something that David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza want to bring about here to New York, and bring it to Queens, and bring it to Flushing, and bring it to Citi Field, and bring it to this organization. They find ways to win games instead of finding ways to lose games. Now, you might say, well, listen, it's Arizona. They're a really good baseball team. Yes, they are. And you can listen to Brandon Nimmo after the game last night, where he said, you know what, the other team, in essence, paraphrasing here, the other team is trying to win too. It's not like we didn't want to win, but sometimes they do a little bit more. Well, I got to be perfectly honest with you. That doesn't fly. No. You're trying to make the playoffs. You're trying to be that third wild card team in the National League. The Braves have been ravaged by injury, yet there they are, still 4 games up on the Mets for the third and final wild card spot in the National League. You have your closer, Edwin Diaz, who has not been brilliant this year. And I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of Met fans that call up this very radio station this morning talking about whether or not Edwin Diaz indeed was, 2022 the outlier? Or is this what Edwin Diaz is now going to be moving forward? How many times can you hear about mechanics and where he's fallen off to third base and that he's not driving to home plate and that where his landing foot is? I mean, after a while, you say to yourself, just get the job done. Stop hanging a slider last night to Corbin Carroll. That's a game you have to win. You win the opener of this series 8-3. You are down 4-0 in that game last night. Your offense rallies back. Martinez, Alvarez, Bader, the big 2-run home run, Alonso with the sac fly. You have a 5-4 lead. Sevy doesn't give you distance. You're able to work your way to get to your closer, who just had an atrocious outing Sunday, giving up the home run in the ninth inning in San Diego. And you hand it off to Edwin Diaz, and he walks two guys and then gives up a grand slam. I mean, and I'm supposed to believe? I'm now supposed to look at this team and think that they are going to be good enough here to overcome the Atlanta Braves. They've got 29 games to go in the rest of the regular season. They got one more this afternoon in Arizona. Then they have the dreadful Chicago White Sox. You watch White Sox baseball, it makes your eyes bleed. They are absolutely an embarrassment to the sport. That organization should be ashamed of themselves. So, should they beat up on Chicago? They should. But are they going to find ways to lose or find ways to win? Because think about the difference. You put your head to the pillow last night, rallying from 4-0 down against Arizona in the desert. Win that game 5-4. Diaz gets the 4-out save. You're 3 games back of the Atlanta Braves. You have an opportunity to go out there and sweep Arizona this afternoon. What a statement series that would be. Talk about building momentum. And we've seen it before in Major League Baseball. I mean, we've seen bullpens decimate seasons. Just ask Omar Minaya. It wasn't all that long ago when he was running the Mets. When they had the following offseason, remember the Mets went out there and addressed the bullpen? They had guys like J.J. Putz. And thought that was going to be A-okay. So we've seen it before. Bad bullpens can absolutely kill a season. And for the most part, the bullpen has destroyed the Mets. I know they've turned guys over. I know they've lost guys like Raley and Smith to season-ending arm injuries. I get all that. But last night was a game. When you rally from 4-0 down, take that 5-4 lead. This is not a game, if you're Brandon Nimmo, to tip the cap to the opposing team. I understand you're not going to throw Diaz under the bus. I understand you're not going to go out there and say, well, you know what, our season's over. And no one telling you that the season is over on this Thursday. But that was one in which you win that game. You put the head to the pillow last night. You feel entirely different, excited, momentum, feeling good. Sweep Arizona. Even if you should lose this afternoon against the Diamondbacks, then you got 3 with Chicago, but you won a series in Arizona. And stylistically speaking, to rally from that kind of a deficit in the desert would be impressive. Yet here we are. And it's Diaz giving up the grand slam to Carroll. It's Diaz entering the game walking 2 guys. And it's the Mets, it's Diaz, it's Nimmo, it's Mendoza after the game rationalizing out, saying that, well, we'll bounce back. And I don't know. I don't think this team is all of a sudden going to tank the rest of the way. But what would lead you to believe that they're going to be able to play consistently good enough to catch Atlanta? Because it's been a while here. I mean, it has been a while. I think you got to go all the way back to, like June 8th that the Mets were this far out of the third and final wild card spot in the National League. Someone could check that, but I think it's June 8th. They're not getting closer. They're getting farther away. Now, they are a good team. San Diego, good team. Arizona, good team, right? But so are the Mets, right? They're 5 games over 500. They're not San Diego good. They're not Arizona good, but you're not going to all of a sudden just get to the playoffs by beating the dregs of Major League Baseball or the National League. Brutal loss. And then you get to Diaz. And listen, I don't think it's an outlier. We've been around and around and around kind of and danced that dance with Edwin Diaz a number of times. Guy couldn't close in New York, can't handle the pressure, can't handle the city, can't handle all of it. It's got to come in specific situations, can't be a dirty inning. It's got to be clean. You have to use Edwin Diaz in a right way. And then all of a sudden, Narco 2022 happened and Edwin Diaz was the best closer in Major League Baseball. I don't think that's an outlier. Because we saw him be nearly as dominant when he was a member of the Seattle Mariners. But I will tell you this, I can't hear about the knee anymore. I can't hear about the mechanics anymore. You want to tell me when he first returns this year and throws his first Major League inning after being out an entire year? We're sitting here. It is late August. Now's the time to get the job done. If it's a mechanical issue, fix it. He has not been anywhere close to the reliever we saw in 2022 this season. Is the stuff there? For sure. Is confidence king when it comes to professional athletes? There's no question about it. Just ask anybody. Anybody that has played at a high level. When you feel good, you play good. Is Edwin Diaz a confident closer at this stage? No, he's not. But I can't hear the excuses anymore. Now, the Mets don't have any other viable options. I get it. But it's time for Edwin Diaz to put the big boy pants on and get the job done. And last night was that opportunity, and he melted right before your very eyes. And the team that you are chasing is the Atlanta Braves. A team, despite all the injuries, you know what they know how to do? They know how to win. They know how to win. They circle those wagons. Doesn't matter. Riley out, doesn't matter. Strider out, doesn't matter. Olsen having a bad year, doesn't matter. Acuna Jr. out for the season, doesn't matter. Albies being out, doesn't matter. They find ways to win. So you might be jealous of them, but you got to respect them. And that's what the Mets want to be in Queens. Winners. 10:15 in the AM.